President Trump's mega domestic agenda bill is one step closer to becoming law today. The U.S. Senate very narrowly passed the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act. 50 senators, all Republicans, voted for it. 50 senators voted against it, including every Democrat, 47, and 3 Senate Republicans. Those are Senator Susan Collins of Maine, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, and Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina. This tie vote activated one of the few constitutionally assigned roles of the vice president. So, Ohio's own Vice President J.D. Vance presided over the Senate and delivered the tie-breaking vote in favor of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. He also took to Twitter to extol its virtues, mainly, he said, for reducing illegal immigration, downplaying, quote, everything else, including, quote, the minutiae of the Medicaid policy is immaterial compared to the ICE money and immigration enforcement provisions, unquote. According to the vice president, this, as the bill will leave more than 15 million people in the U.S. without health insurance, according to CNN's analysis of previous Congressional Budget Office numbers and the updated bill text. So, what happens now? Since the Senate made changes to the House bill, it has to go back to the House for approval. That vote is expected tomorrow morning, but Senate Republicans acknowledge passing it could be complicated, and in the current 220 Republicans to 212 Democrats makeup of the House, Republicans cannot afford to lose more than 3 votes. Some House Republicans say they can't get on board with the significant changes the Senate made to Medicaid. They warn it will harm low-income families and rural health care providers. President Trump, though, did not seem worried earlier today about this bill getting through the House and onto his resolute desk.
It's a great bill. There is something for everyone, and I think it's going to go very nicely in the House. Actually, I think it will be easier in the House than it was in the Senate.
Let's discuss with our panel. T.W. Arrighi, Republican strategist. Trump today downplayed the concerns of Americans losing health insurance because of this bill. Take a look.
You've promised not to cut Medicaid, said this is all just targeting waste, fraud, and abuse. Are you saying that the estimated 11.8 million people who could lose their health coverage, that is all waste, fraud, and abuse?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's going to be a very much smaller number than that, and that number will be waste, fraud, and abuse. And if you look, they took a much more liberal stance on the Medicaid situation than they could have.
There are concerns, as I don't need to tell you, TW, that the Medicaid changes will hurt voters and could hurt the Republican Party come midterms. What do you think?
There is no doubt that there is a threat of that. As I've said at the very most macro level, anytime you touch Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, it comes with a massive risk. Remember George W. Bush in 2005. And I think today, with hindsight, we'd be like, man, I wish we passed that bill. It would have helped the Social Security Administration quite a lot.
The partial privatization you're talking
about. Yes, correct.
George W. Bush expanded Medicare, though.
Sure. And I think a lot of the Medicare expansions we're dealing with in this bill.
Sure.
And the 2 points that the Republicans have been trying to make, Thune, Johnson, and Trump, are this is more of a protection of it moving forward by making sure that the 1.4 million illegal immigrants are kicked off it, to make sure that there's work requirements that Democrats and Republicans have pushed for decades. And so it will be a political cost to that, but I think Donald Trump believes it's time to move on it if we're ever going to get our debt in line.
Of course, it now needs to go through the House. We had on Congressman Don Bacon from Omaha, from your home state of Nebraska, on the show yesterday. And he did not seem convinced that the Senate changes to Medicaid were good ones, that his more moderate, for want of a better term, group of House Republicans would embrace. Take a listen.
I think we'll have a hard time passing with some of the provisions that the Senate's put in there.
Would you vote no on this version?
Well, there's talk with a bunch of folks on the House side that we will modify this portion back to the House instead of back to the Senate.
What do you think is going to happen?
It's a great question with Congressman Bacon. I mean, could he go the way of Tom Tillis and voting no and, kind of not being beholden to his party, or will he sort of do a solid for Speaker Johnson?
He's already said he's not running for re-election. So.
He's not. He said that yesterday in Omaha. My guess is he will not be the deciding vote. sort of he'll go with others. But look, there's one number that is hanging over this entire debate. That's 215 to 214. That's what this passed the House by in May. So it is as narrow as it can possibly be. I've been talking with the Republican leadership folks in the House this afternoon. They're worried about a couple of things. One, the storms that have been rolling through D.C. this afternoon is likely to keep some members from potentially flying in tomorrow morning. So that could hold up.
Yeah, well, I was supposed to
the
introduce
vote.
a congresswoman who's stuck in Pittsburgh right now later on the show.
It's a real issue.
Yeah.
Number two, though, the SNAP benefits. SNAP, of course, is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as food stamps, and some big changes were made on that the House is not finding palatable, as well as Medicaid changes. So yes, there is history that the Senate always jams the House, so there's reason to believe that could happen again in a president's party. However, many House members are very resistant to some of these changes, so I don't know that we've seen the end of this yet, but the president obviously is pushing for it. He's not deep in the details. He wants it to be done. We will see. But the 4th of July is still a few days away, and I'm not sure the deadline will be made or not.
So they can only lose 3 Republicans. Yeah. Tom Massey of Kentucky is already a no. We know that because it doesn't do enough to cut the deficit. And then there are 3 House Republicans who are in districts that Kamala Harris won, including Don Bacon. So who knows?
There are many with rural hospitals and other things.
Yeah.
So there are some other issues.
So, Ashley, I want to run this bite from our good friend Ryan Nobles. Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, she was iffy on the bill. She was very worried. She got a lot of exemptions and carve-outs for her Alaskan constituents. And our friend Ryan Nobles told her what a different Senate Republican had said about her switch to yes. And she did not seem pleased with the news. Take a look.
Senator Paul said that that your vote was a bailout for Alaska at the expense of the rest of the country.
Oh my God.
That's what Senator Paul said.
My question was easy. Senator, we've got the...
I didn't say it, ma'am. I'm just asking for your response.
When people suggest that federal dollars go to one of our 50 states in a, quote, bailout, I find that offensive. Do I like this bill? No.
Do I like this bill? No, but she voted yes.
Right. So then she should have voted no. You like this bill? No. So
but she got stuff for Alaska.
She got stuff for Alaska, but I mean, at what cost? I know she's annoyed by the question, but sometimes when you get agitated, it's because there's real truth in that statement. Lisa Murkowski is a disappointment in this moment, but I also will go back to a couple of weeks when she also talked about how fearful she was of going against Donald Trump, and I think we saw that fear play out in her vote today.
Well, just kudos to Ryan Nobles. We are supposed to annoy them, but
yes.
But you got to see.
And her constituents should annoy her even more by potentially not re-electing her when she's up.
She's not up till 2028, so
well, that's why she gave.
And she did give Alaska something, but she did say it's not good enough for the rest of the nation, and we all know it.
So vote no, but it's also why you guys lost Collins,
I think the point,
because she is up.
But the point needs to also be made here that we are staring down the barrel of the largest tax increase in decades. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. These are also huge things that are trying to get lost in the shuffle.
And most billionaires will get massive
Everyone
tax.
gets
okay.
massive.
Thanks to all.